So it would be remiss of me not to talk about the agricultural and tourism sectors and the concerns that are expressed, both actual and perceived, about what a high-level waste facility might bring. In fact, most concerns are about the perception of what might happen to our markets in both the agricultural and tourism perspective if this debate is not handled well and if the science is not well understood. Most people would say in regional areas that they want to know that there is also a real and tangible benefit to them if there's going to be either an actual and or a perceived disadvantage to their industry. They want to know that the security or the department that is involved is actually domiciled in the region, that has some local understanding and knowledge. The really important part about it is the communication. I've seen so many things in community consultation go badly and go well. I'll use wind farms without talking about specific ones. I've seen some wind farms that have had complete community consent because the consultation has been done so well, and others that haven't. And what it leaves is division in the community, and that is actually the stuff that affects us long-term economically. So if I could leave you with those messages, that understanding what the economic benefit would be, how that actually relates to industry, and how other people have dealt with it in the agricultural tourism sectors in places that we know and respect, would be really important to the region as part of that process.
As you deliberate as a group, one of the things that you might want to do is to consider, are there certain core values and principles which you share together and which you make explicit as the basis for how you might eventually start to frame the challenges that South Australia faces in this area. People typically, good people, don't want inadvertently to become complicit in wrongdoing. Nobody wants to be inadvertently drawn into a situation where they are either commissioning some wrongdoing, causing it to happen, or even inadvertently benefiting from it. Now, when you frame your document, can we resist the temptation to just think about it or talk about it as a matter of consequences? These are the economic implications, this is the financial benefits. Can we also take into account concurrently issues to do with duty and character and care? When people talk to you about having a moral obligation to do something, it's only an obligation if it is possible to do it. So what are the practical limitations that people in South Australia might have imposed upon them by limitations in terms of resources, time, money or opportunity actually to fix these things so that it's something that could be done? Because if it can't be done safely, if it cannot be done with justice, if that's not possible, then the ought falls away however it's been constructed.
I wish you could all visit a number of nuclear facilities like the Royal Commissioner or myself, as it is easy to come to the conclusion that we can adequately engineer our way to safely managing spent fuel. So why have so few attempted to build a waste repository before? There are three reasons. Firstly, spent fuel rods need to be stored under several metres of water for a few decades as the best method of cooling, and also a safe way to shield people from the radiation. So in most cases, a lot of the fuel hasn't even been around long enough to actually do that. Secondly, engineers and scientists have had to figure out how to safely store waste for thousands of years. The facilities in France and Finland are designed to withstand 2 ice ages. Thirdly, governments need to obtain a social licence from the community, which is now happening in Finland and France, or I should say has happened in Finland and is being virtually there in France as well. When you consider going on a roller coaster, a few of you think it's going to be great. Some of you will be unsure and some will perhaps even be freaking out. Ultimately, we only get on a roller coaster because logic overcomes our fears. We may not know how to design the roller coaster, but we trust the engineers who designed it, the contractors who built it, the government who regulate it, and the safety experts who inspect it. Any spent fuel storage facility will not be just a hole in the ground, but rather it will be well-engineered, high-tech facility with first-class regulations.
Most medical facilities, most universities will have a storage facility for low and the medium level waste. Our facilities at the old Royal Adelaide, when we looked to our waste and looked at what we had plutonium legacy sources, we had cesium rods from blood irradiators. Some of those things fall well above low level waste in terms of they have long half-lives, they emit gamma rays and they have to be cared for very, very carefully. Indeed, when we're moving, some of those isotopes will be in fact sent to Germany. It'll cost a lot of money for a very small box, about $150,000 to send a small box of waste away. So I think that we are very used to dealing with these radioactive sources, and how we deal with them is something that's well into my remit. I think for me, one of the good things about this debate is certainly we need to get into the complexities of the whole nuclear fuel cycle, all those things. But the other thing as a community person that I've been wanting to see is the current way we handle nuclear waste is really whoever's got it. So, we have very strict ways of dealing with it at Royal Adelaide, but there's other facilities that deal with their own waste, however, and it would be very nice to have a more organised way that we deal with our waste. As I say, we're sending stuff overseas as it is. We're paying very large amounts of money to do that. I think it's just a good debate as to how we could tidy all of this up.